Okie dokie. Right. I believe that we are live. Welcome to an episode of The Commission. Jesus Christ, it's like the Black House in here. We've got all three light-skinned brothers all in here, ready to go on today's breaking news, man. Oh, see, that's my microphone. Dillian White has pulled out of the fight with Otto Wallin, as I'm sure you guys are already aware of. So I've got two guys here with me. I've got Riku and I have Shevin. I'm going to introduce them one by one, and we're just going to get straight to it. We're going to be answering the $1 million questions that you all want to hear about. So let me start off by bringing in Riku very quickly. Riku, quick sound check. Can everybody hear me? Riku, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
Good, thank you. Anybody can get it. The cam man has proven that anybody can get it yet again.
Jesus Christ, the tomato can man returns. Trust me, I am 100% going to be getting death threats after this episode. Trust me. Wait till you hear some of the questions that I have to raise. And then let me bring in my light-skinned brother from another mother, Shevin. Happy birthday from yesterday. It's Shevin's birthday yesterday. How you doing, Shev? Where you at?
Doing good, man. How's it going? Thanks for your birthday wishes. I'm doing well, man. I'm still settling down the plans to head down to Mexico, so I'm doing well.
Yeah, don't have any beef.
Happy birthday, mate.
Thank you, Riku.
Yeah, don't lay off the beef, Chef. Lay off the beef when you're down there, okay? All right. Listen, what I'm gonna do, because I've never had, I'm not very good at managing these conversations. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute one of you. I'm gonna ask you a question, and we're gonna flip round. All right. So I'm gonna ask Riku this question first, okay? And I'm gonna ask Shevin. Let's get to the point. Riku, do you believe, right, that Dillian White is really injured?
How convenient. No.
Go away. Answer away. Why do you think?
No, I mean, look, it wasn't ordered by the WBC that he needs to face Otto Wallin, so why take the risk? And I think it was actually quite a tricky fight, and I think he's hoping that he can get the Fury fight. I just feel sorry for everybody in the undercard and everybody that's still paying for the zone, because I don't know what they're going to get. Yusuf Kamari as chief support, or is Chantel Cameron against somebody we've never heard of? So I don't believe that Dillian White's injured. Show me the medical record. Imagine if this was a matchroom fighter that would have lost their opportunity. The palaver that will be going on, and people will be calling the matchroom, the person pulling out of the matchroom fight a ducker, right?
100% agree. Keep going. I'm going to bring in Shevin. I'm waiting for you.
No, I think that's everything. That's everything from me. I mean, there's not much more to say on this. I mean, we can. I'd love to hear Shevin's thoughts and your thoughts. But I mean, how does this happen a week before the fight? It's just, given that everything that's happened with potentially him being able to fight against Fury, that's what they're looking for.
I think it's going to be a case of same skin color, same opinion. Let's bring Shevin in. Shev, what are you saying? Do you think that Dillian White is injured? Yes or no?
It's going to be a no for me. It's going to be a no for me. And the thing is, to jump on what Riku said, I was going to make the same point. I am still awaiting certain people from certain British YouTube channels to ask Eddie Hearn to make sure he produces the medical records. Because I do recall someone asked, or Eddie Hearn asked that same YouTube channel to produce the medical records of Danny Dubois's injured eye socket once he suffered that injury versus the Joe Joyce fight. So I am 1,000% sure. Two things. One, Eddie will produce those medical records. I'm also sure that the YouTube channels and reporters in British media will ask Eddie Hearn to produce the medical records of Sir Dillian White, a.k.a. the Can Man.
Let me just jump in 1 second and say, you guys have absolutely beat me to it, by the way. You guys have absolutely beat me to it. That's exactly what I was going to say. Listen, I can't say that Dillian White's not injured because nobody knows. I have it on very, very good authority, all right, a couple of hours ago from somebody who would know. I don't think the WBC have a clue what's going on. Certain people weren't informed. It's like the media found out, or word got out to the media before some of the official channels got word of this, because I spoke to somebody very, very briefly who would know. yeah, and who would know, and who may have some kind of contacts at the WBC. I don't think they were aware of it at the time this was broken in the media. So, like I said before, situation's ongoing. I'm not going to accuse Dillian White of faking an injury and being a ducker without the sort of relevant evidence. But like I said before, the first thing I would say is I would echo both what Riku and Shevin have said. In the past, yeah, Eddie Hearn has questioned, right, the injuries of other fighters. We've seen him question the injury of Daniel Dubois, which you can see now on your screen here. I'm not going to read through it for the 50th time. So Eddie Hearn is asked in the past for medical scans. I would like to see medical scans delivered ASAP first thing in the morning to show that Dillian White's got a shoulder injury. And let me just go into this. Let me fire this question at Rico, and then I'll fire this one back at Shevin quickly. Let me fire this one back in as well. If Dillian White is injured, and Dillian White really is the can man, and anybody can get it, then what I'm expecting is the following, right? I'm not calling Dillian White a ducker. I'm not saying Dillian White's faking an injury. What I'm expecting from Dillian White is to release a statement, right, apologising to Otto Wallin for pulling out of a fight 1 week before the fight. Don't forget, Otto Wallin's probably blown a ton of money on camp, probably done a ton of money in nutritionists and Lord knows what else. And 1 week out from a fight, Dillian White's pulled out. So I'm expecting, Riku, a statement from Dillian White inside the next 24 hours, apologising to Otto Wallin, and then saying that because he's the can man and anybody can get it, endeavouring to give Otto Wallin the match and to getting this fight done and dusted and sorted, Riku.
Yeah, look, you took the words out of my mouth. I wrote exactly the same points down, that surely Otto Wallin should get a rematch, the actual fight, because he would have lost money and he's going to lose more money doing his next camp, which probably won't be as lucrative. So he needs to get a rematch. I think it's only fair. British fans and boxing media will be calling exactly for that point if it was a British fighter in a similar situation. So I think we just need to be straight about this and say, if a fighter pulls out of an injury because it's a voluntary, it's a voluntary fight, it's not fair that they just toss the other guy down the food chain on the side in a hope for a bigger match.
To add to, can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. To add to your point, Riku, I know that I saw an interview that Otto Wallin had did a few weeks ago when they first announced the Dillian White fight. I think it was on Boxing Social, if I recall correctly, where he said that the Dillian White fight surprised him. They were unaware or not seeking that fight, but at the time they were contacted by Matchroom. He had his promoter had agreed to have a fight with Luis Ortiz in November on the Tank Davis undercard. So he had agreed to a fight in principle to fight Luis Ortiz, and then they jumped out of that agreement to fight Dillian White because it was probably a little bit more lucrative fight, meaning it was a headline pay-per-view fight on Sky Sports. And now, because of this pullout of the fight, he's not only losing the compensation, which you and Ultra both mentioned, but the compensation he had already with the fight that he stepped out of. So he's looking at being lost of hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. So yeah, he's lost a lot, and he should get some sort of recompensation as well as a rescheduling of the fight at the time and the money he's lost.
So let me just fire something back at Riku, Shevin, on the point you just made here. 1 second. Riku, what do you think about, and we're going to get into this right now. This is going to be question 2, right? The hypocrisy of Dillian White fans and British boxing fans. Right now, I find it to be an absolute embarrassment, right? First and foremost, right? Otto Wallin has been caused, a lot of hassle by this in terms of the amount of money he stands to lose, the amount of time he stands to lose. Very important point there made by Marco in the chat, who says Wallin was supposed to fly out today as well. Strange timing. So if that's true, that Otto Wallin was due to fly out to the UK, and a couple of days before he's due to fly out to the UK for the fight, all of a sudden that Dillian White's injured himself, right? That's very, very convenient. But I want to fire something at you, Riku. I'm going to give you all the time in the world to answer this, so don't worry. I'll make sure you get all the time in the world to go through this for as long as you want. But let me fire this question at you, all right? The reaction of boxing fans towards this fight. Otto Wallin was a bum when he fought Tyson Fury. Do you remember? He was a bum. Mm-hmm. He was a street sweeper. He should never have been in the ring with Fury. Everybody was ducking Dillian White, right? Everybody was not wanting to fight Dillian White. In fact, people were saying there was a global conspiracy against Dillian White, headed by the WBC, Al Heyman and Deontay Wilder. And just about every recognizable non-flipping UK promoter or organization across the world of boxing was engaged in a 24/7 conspiracy to stop Dillian White, becoming the champion. All of a sudden, it gets announced that Wallin's fighting White. And all of a sudden, it turns out that actually Wallin's not a bum. He all of a sudden becomes this great top 10, top 15 heavyweight and a potential banana skin for White. Cue people are now turning around and saying, oh, I think Wallin can win this fight. And finally, we've now arrived at this situation where the man who's been calling other people cowards in the sport of boxing for at least the last 5 years, accusing people of being cowards, duckers, all of a sudden is now getting a pass, all right, for what it looks like it's going to turn out as not fulfilling his obligation. Because if he doesn't fight Otto Wallin, he hasn't fulfilled his obligations. And if he doesn't fight Otto Wallin, it's going to look like he doesn't want to fight him. So, Riku, take as much time as you want. Give me your thoughts on, if you have any, on the hypocrisy of British boxing fans. In a run-up to this fight, Wallin was a bum. All of a sudden, he's a good fighter. And the hypocrisy now that Dillian White's now getting this pass. It's all of a sudden, it's now, oh, well, he doesn't have to fight Wallin anyway. He's doing Wallin a favour. Oh, he doesn't have to fight Wallin. It's not a problem. Oh, Dillian should never have took that fight anyway. But it's the guy who's been calling other fighters cowards for the last 5 years, Riku. Go for it.
I think it's just hypocrisy across the board. I mean, we had the same that Fury and Wilder 3 was holding up the heavyweight division. It should have never happened. Yep, when Joshua faces Usyk in a rematch, that's fine, although he lost comprehensively. Now, White should be able to pull out of a fight, no explanations, and then White should fight against whoever he wants, but no disregard towards Otto Wallin. So I think it's just hypocrisy at its highest level, and it seems to be that nobody's calling this out in the British boxing media, apart from fringe outlets saying that we're not consistent with these issues. I think all we should be doing is really championing that fights when fighters schedule to fight other fighters, they should be able to have that fight, because unless they pay him, of course, if they're willing to pay Otto Wallin step aside money, then that is the thing that I believe.
That's fine. That's different.
That should be fine. But at the moment, it seems like we can just disregard this. We can scrap the event. And if we're going to scrap the full event, you're not only impacting Otto Wallin, you're impacting all the undercard fighters on a lot less money that have been putting their efforts into training, getting into shape, taking time off their jobs or whatever, and losing money in the camp. So you're actually impacting the zone subscribers.
Yeah, the ticket, yeah, all the tickets, Riku.
Tickets, everybody that's scheduled their life around this and everybody else. So I don't think it's fair. I think the whole event should go ahead once White is in better condition. If they can find ways for the undercard fighters to make the same money and fight on a card that's televised on DAZN, although it's not a very good card, then fair enough. But I think we just need to be consistent on these issues, and boxing media should be very consistent on these issues when a fighter pulls out, whether it's a British fighter, foreign fighter, or anybody else. And we have exactly the same issue when it's doping issues, when a British fighter gets, an adverse finding, then because somebody knows them, they would never do it, but yet a foreign fighter's there. Every single British journalist and boxer piles in and says, Eddie Reynosa's germ, whereas we don't rate it, but other germs in Britain where a number of fighters have got caught doing doping. That's me.
No, that's fine. And I muted myself because I was eating ice cream and listening to you. I didn't want to talk over you or jump in. That's all. Absolutely fine with that. And listen, Rico, I've got some banging questions to line up, which I haven't even started yet. Sharon, just come in. Have you got any thoughts on that, Sharon? Just unmute yourself there if you're there, Chev. Just the hypocrisy of these fans there. I mean, all I've been seeing today on social media, and the two of you can go back and forth if you want. Sorry, I'm really terrible at managing two people aside. So if the two of you want to go back and forth and jump in, that's fine. All I'm saying is, all I've seen on social media today is, oh, it's all right for Dillian to pull out. Wallin doesn't deserve a shot anyway. Dillian was doing him a favor. Oh, who cares? We don't want to see the Wallin fight. We only want to see the Fury fight. And it just seems to me pure hypocrisy. I mean, if this was another fighter, Sharon, they would be absolutely taken to the cleaners.
Yes, absolutely. We all saw the complaints about the fight that no one cared about, no one wanted to see, no one was interested in watching. the same fight that Passenger 57 himself said he would not watch live, but he would check out the results in the morning. However, Magic Johnson, Michael J. Fox, and every other A-list celebrity in the United States of America was watching the fight, except for, as well as Dana White himself, and not paying attention to Matchroom shows. So, yeah, it's just a bit of hypocrisy there, but I've grown very, very accustomed to it. Now, this is my question. I might be jumping off point a little bit, too. But this is something we've discussed previous shows, right? And that is, I had to make some notes about this before. Dillian White, his position with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, I felt that he should have left Matchroom and Eddie Hearn some time ago because he's a heavyweight. I don't believe every fighter should go to Al Heyman or PBC or Top Rank or Bob Arum. It depends on your weight division and depends on what you want to do with your career. And in certain weight divisions, certain television networks, and certain promoters, they have the bulk of those individuals that you want to fight for the big money fights or for the belts. Listen at this, okay? Think about this. Dillian White has been with Eddie Hearn for 5, 6, several years, right? I want you to listen to the people who've gotten title opportunities or title shots with other promotional companies or promoters while Dillian White has not, okay? Al Heyman's got Luis Ortiz, not 1, but 2 title shots. Al Heyman's gotten Dominic Brazil, not 1, but 2 title shots. 1 with Anthony Joshua for all those belts, okay? Frank Warren and Bob Arum has gotten Tyson Fury, not 1, but 2 title shots. Al Heyman's gotten Eric Molina, not 1, but 2.
Shevin, you just broke up there. He's lost. He's always doing that. And tell you what, it was in the middle of a cracking point. We could pick it up though, like I said.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think Shevin has a good point because for me, it's always been a case that White has complained that he doesn't get title shots. He's complained that the WBC aren't giving him title shot, but isn't that his management teams and he's self-managed and his promoter's job to get those? Eddie Hearn always talks about strong relationships with the governing bodies. Surely the world isn't doing Dillian White wrong here. His promoter's doing him wrong. His management team is doing him wrong.
Riku, let me just butt in and ask you this, and then I'll bring Shevin back in as well in a bit. But Shevin, hold the line. Let me ask Riku this, because I made notes too. Let's start at this, right? Because you guys are stealing my fire, right? Dillian White was ordered to fight Luis Ortiz. Here's the article. I've got this up. This was on Wednesday, the 25th of April, 2018. Did he take that fight, Riku?
No.
He didn't take that fight. Right. This is the 3rd of April, 2018. The IBF ordered Dillian White versus Kubrat Pulev, a final eliminator for a mandatory. Did he take that fight, Riku?
No, Hugh Fury did.
And then we've got this issue as well. Dillian White turned down an offer for a unified championships of the world because he said, and you can see the quote here from the BBC, you can't offer Tyson Fury 15 million and offer me 4 million. So here's the question, my question to you, Riku, and I want to bring Shevin in. This is the question I want to ask you guys, right? Turn down an eliminator against Luis Ortiz, as far as I'm aware. Turn down a final eliminator, a fight for a final eliminator to be mandatory against Kubrat Pulev. Refuse to fight Anthony Joshua to unify the titles. And then also on top of that, Rico, I want to ask you, right? We had the issue with the B sample, which you've heard me ask about before, right? With allegedly there was an adverse finding or some kind of problem with one of Dillian White's drug tests in the run-up to the Oscar Rivas fight. Oscar Rivas was never told. Oscar Rivas was never informed at any stage that the opponent that he was about to get in the ring and be punched in the head by, right, was had failed a test. I also believe, I could be wrong, Riku, that the WBC themselves may not have also been informed that there was a slight problem with the drugs test until it got out to the media. That's the impression I was given, that even the WBC was surprised to hear about that possible adverse finding. All right, and now we have this Wallin pull out. So here's my question to you, Riku. Take as much time as you want to go through this. Right, my question to you is, what's going on here? Is Dillian White the most unlucky fighter in the history of boxing? Or is the problem him? Is he the problem? Or is there some kind of a conspiracy? Or is he just unlucky, Riku?
I think here's the problem. And I'll say something which I'll be careful how I word it. Sometimes sometimes fighters, it's not the right time to leave a country like Portugal to go into a fighting environment, because some things might come out if you get into the UK, and UCAD might have a chance to test you. That's all I'm going to say about that. So there might be another reason why Dillian White hasn't left Portugal and is not doing the fights at the moment in the UK, because he won't be under UCAD jurisdiction. And that might be another reason why this fight hasn't happened. But that's just me speculating here, given his background and, not background, but given what we have come to know about him and his situations in the past. It wouldn't surprise me if that was perhaps a factor, but this is just complete speculation.
But Riku, there's always something. That's the point I'm trying to make with Dillian, isn't it? This is what I don't understand with Dillian, right? I don't have anything against Dillian personally, but
he's the victim. He's always the victim. He's the victim.
Carry on, Riku. There's just literally, there's always the WBC have got. Listen, the WBC have got it in for him. Kubrat Pulev doesn't want to offer him enough money. Anthony Joshua doesn't want to offer him enough money. He can't fight Ortiz. Shoulder falls out before. There's literally always something. Povetkin, he got beaten by Povetkin, and then all of a sudden, blah blah blah. I mean, just any more thoughts on that?
I mean, this guy makes it difficult for himself, and the way how he's been managed is poor. Either it's poor, or either he doesn't want to do things. If I was him, and I don't get these shots for however long and however many days, and after turning down all these opportunities, surely at that point I will be sacking my management team and looking for a new one. Or I would be saying to my promoter, you're not doing a good job for me, because you are able to get title shots for everybody but me. It's him either not wanting these fights, or not doing things in the correct manner, or not knowing what to do. It might be a case he's self-managed. He doesn't know what to do. A similar thing will happen to Tyson Fury after he beat Klitschko, and he started losing the belts because he didn't know how to manage the situation. It's either his problem, or then it's his management team's problem, but it's not everybody else's problem, because everybody else seems to be able to follow the rules.
I'll tell you what, let's like I said before, everybody's unmuted now, so I've got a few more questions, but open discussion. Shevin, unmute yourself for a sec. I want to forward the same question to you, Shevin. What is going on? Do you think that Dillian White is the most unlucky man in history, yeah? One of the most unlucky victims ever? Or do you think that what's going on signifies that he's the problem, or his promotion's the problem?
Well, to finish the point I was laboring a second ago, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. Okay, so to finish that point, like I was saying before, think about this, like I was saying a few seconds ago, and to what Riku said about holding your management accountable for what they have done or have not been able to do for you. Al Heyman's got Luis Ortiz 2 title shots. He's got Diamond Brazil's 2 title shots. He's gotten Frank Warren and Bob Arum have gotten Tyson Fury 2 title shots. Al Heyman got Eric Molina 2 title shots. George Washington a title shot. Don King, okay, who's not been a relevant promoter in America or anywhere in the world in almost 20 years, got Bermain Stavern, a WBC title shot versus Deontay Wilder, and Al Heyman got Andy Ruiz 2 title shots, okay? That's a collective total of 13 title shots by 3 to 4 various promoters in boxing, one of which is not a major promoter at all compared to Eddie Hearn, okay? 13 title shots. Eddie Hearn has not been able to get or secure Dillian White 1 title shot in that 5-year span of all the names and all the fights I've just named. So obviously, Dillian White and Eddie Hearn collectively, or one of them, don't want Dillian White to get a title shot because they don't feel that he can win that fight. But what they are doing is selling the fights that potentially could lead up to a title shot, and they making money off of those, use the names of Tyson Fury, use the name of Anthony Joshua, and use the name of Deontay Wilder to sell B-level fights, which are good fights, because there are some good fights he's had with Rivas and people like that. But they're also fights that Dillian White's 70-30 favorite to win. They're not going to put him in the ring in a 50-50 fight. And I do believe Dillian is competent enough to know that at this point. And he and Eddie are, along with this con job of pretending like they want a Fury fight or pretending that they want a Wilder fight, when all in else they don't want that, because they refuse Pulev fight, they refuse Ortiz fight, and Dillian White himself refused to sign with an American promoter that could have got him the same fight that they got for Gerald effing Washington.
Yeah. I'll just add to that, and I agree with everything. There's another dimension, which is that Dillian White could just be used as a sort of a blocker.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why do you guys keep stealing my points? Everybody's come so well. That's exactly what I was going to say. Go on, Riku.
No, I think he could be used. I think he could be used as a blocker to clear up these guys for AJ, and that's what they've been doing in the past. I'll tell you one other thing for free. Dillian White won't go down in history as the next Ernie Shavers, as the most avoided heavyweight in history, because when people look back at all of this, when it's all said and done, is nobody's going to say that White was actually avoided. He just never fought against anybody, and he was never put in those positions where they'd risk him as a cash cow for whatever promotional outfit he's representing, and in this case, it's Matchroom and DAZN.
Riku, too, to second to the point you just made about addressing him as some sort of cash cow, and the point that Ultra made a few minutes ago about when Dillian White or Eddie Hearn, they're listing all these purses, and Anthony Joshua offered him $5 million, and they went to give Fury $12 million, only give him a quarter fraction of that money. I don't know if it's Dillian himself or if it's Eddie Hearn himself, whom have convinced Dillian White, and he's in a delusional state of his marketing value in heavyweight boxing. I mean, he's a good fighter, he's an exciting fighter, but he's a local fighter. No one in Mexico knows who he is. No one in America knows who Dillian White is. So he's of low value to American television networks. He's always going to be a 70-30, 80-20 type of split versus a Fury or a Wilder or Anthony Joshua, because those guys are top list A-level fighters. And from terms of a money standpoint, I keep saying this, I said this for weeks now, that there's no money for Tyson Fury, for the ESPN, or for the WBC to put Fury in a fight versus Dillian White. Because from a business standpoint, it makes zero financial sense. They say, Fury can go fight him in Old Stratford. He can fight him at the O2 Arena. And I'll say, yes, you could. You can sell it at an arena. You can sell it at Old Stratford. But you know who's not going to go for that? ESPN. Because ESPN is not going to put on a pay-per-view fight or an ESPN Plus fight that happens at 5 p.m. on a Saturday while NCAA football is happening, while the NBA is happening, or while college basketball is happening. Ultra, what do you think? You think people are going to tune in to watch Dillian White fight Tyson Fury or Lakers versus the Warriors?
Well, hold on a minute. It depends if Rondo's playing. But let me just ask you quick.
Also, we can see the cam man, which nobody has ever seen anybody getting it. So
exactly.
You've got 82 NBA games in a season, so I imagine seeing the cam man once in a decade, that's something that nobody can miss.
Listen, I can definitely see Jack Nicholson turning down his front row seat at the Lakers to come and watch the Can Man. Let me just ask you, Riku, about this. I think, and I'm going to give my opinion. I've always said it about Dillian White. The man's a pawn for Eddie Hearn. Listen, when the Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder stuff first started in 2017, 2018, and Wilder was looking like a wrecking machine. Who remembers when Eddie Hearn said this? In chat, let me know yes or no if I'm correct about this. Who remembers when Eddie Hearn said, Deontay Wilder, fight Dillian White first. Yeah, you fight Dillian White first for a flat fee of 10 million. What was it? I'll give you a flat fee of 5 million to fight Wilder, to fight White first, and then you fight AJ. How many times have we seen Eddie Hearn do it? He's been doing it since 2017 to 2015. He tried to do it with Fury as well. Matchroom sent Fury an agreement, right? Matchroom, by the way, coming out and saying things like, we never really tried hard to sign Fury. We were never really interested in Fury. Fury was the one that got away. Fury wasn't the one that got away because he posted the flipping agreement, that Matchroom sent him, or the email that Eddie sent him. He posted that on Twitter, which I will get on the screen and display for everybody to see. So you'll be able to see in a minute. I'll get it up. The email of Hearn saying, I would love to work with you, Tyson Fury. I'm offering you a 3-fight or whatever deal for XYZ. And Hearn was trying to do the same thing. He wanted Fury to fight the likes of a Bellew and a White, and was trying to put all these obstacles in his way before the AJ fight. And that's my point, Riku. To me, Dillian White has been nothing but a pawn in this situation from the get-go. He's a guard dog for Anthony Joshua. That's what he is, isn't he? He's a glorified flipping guard dog for Anthony Joshua. Every time you want to fight Anthony Joshua, you got to go through his guard dog, Dillian White. And that's why these flipping AJ fans, and let me just be honest, that's why these flipping Anthony Joshua fans, right, elsewhere, you know who, love Dillian White so much. That's the real reason why they're blowing smoke, yeah, up Dillian White's plantain and rice and all this kind of thing. The reason why they're doing it, yeah, is because they love it, innit? They know he's the body. Yeah, Games You Love said the bodyguard. Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. If that's what it was, yeah, then Dillian White would be Whitney Houston. Dillian White would be Whitney Houston and Anthony Joshua would be fucking Kevin Costner. Because that's what it is to me. The whole situation's a fucking disgrace. Go on, Riku.
And nobody's going to be dancing with the wolves.
Fucking, I don't like fucking howling at the arena, by the way. Fucking howling at the O2. Guess what? You still sold no tickets for that Wallin fight. I'll get onto the ticket sales in a minute because apparently they're fucking dreadful. Apparently you could have thrown a fucking hand grenade in the O2 with the amount of tickets they sold, yeah, and you wouldn't have killed nobody. But anyway, Riku, you carry on.
Yeah, I mean, Dillian White's the follow-up from Luis Ortiz, who was signed by Matchroom as a blocker and fought in Monte Carlo against Malik Scott and then fought against Dave Allen, and then he was let go. So, I mean, this is what Matchroom has been doing for years to protect their main asset, the main cash cow, which is Anthony Joshua. So I agree completely. But yeah, on the ticket sales quickly, I think it's always been a myth that Dillian White's this big ticket seller. He'll get his guys because how he structures the cards it's basically the same guys that are on his undercards, and they tend to be the guys that all will sell tickets in Brixton and South London. It's not Dillian White in itself isn't a big draw. He does all right in terms of television views and, you know, okay in terms of pay-per-view numbers. Not that he should be a pay-per-view star, and people do tune in to watch him. But I think the ticket sales, I can't see this event being a big ticket selling event. I mean, you look at the undercard, you've got Chantel Cameron, you've got
the great Chantel Cameron. Oh Jesus, there you go.
Yeah, you've got Yusuf Kamari. Go for it.
There you go. So just getting up on the screen there. Sorry, Riku. Sorry about that. Yeah, apparently these are all the leftover seats. So yeah, carry on. Sorry about that, mate. Carry on. Yeah, apparently I don't know if you can see that, but those are all apparently the leftover seats for the fight. I mean, we don't know if that's the case or not, but yeah, we'll see. Sorry, Rico, carry on. Sorry.
Let's look at the undercard. If what's left, so this is what you get with your DAZN subscription. Chantel Cameron against Mary McGee, Craig Richards against Marek Matia, never heard of him. Yusuf Kamari against Jorge Cassandra, never heard of him. Alan Babbage, the Savage against the teacher, Eric Molina. Johnny the Romford Bull against Alvaro Terreiro. Ellie Scottney, who I rate, against Eva Cantos. Yeah, I mean, this undercard is pretty terrible itself. So the undercard isn't going to do lots of tickets, but it's pretty awful. I mean,
what about the great Craig Richards versus Marek Matia?
You know, I quite like Craig Richards as a fighter. He always gives a go, but Craig Richards would sell tickets to the same guys that Dillian White sells tickets to. Alan Babbage.
Family and friends. Yeah, family and friends. Yeah. Carry on.
Alan Babbage maybe sells at the building site or other people, but the guy hardly speaks English. He's not really a ticket seller. Yusuf Kamari, again, the same stable as Dillian White, training out in Portugal. So he'll sell to the same guys. Johnny Fisher might sell a few tickets.
Apparently he did 1,500 tickets, this boy, the Romford Ball. Apparently he's a ticket seller.
I'm not surprised, but, you know, 1,500 tickets in a 10,000 capacity arena is probably not enough.
Let me ask you, I'll tell you one thing as well. In fact, let me just quickly bring Shem just a bit. Shevin, have you got anything to say about that at all, about the bodyguard, quickly?
Yes, the bodyguard himself, Dillian, the body snatcher White. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised. I'm being dead serious here because I rely on you guys to tell me about the consumer market in the UK because I don't try to do what national fans do and talk about a consumer market, which I don't consume. I actually thought that Dillian White was under AJ. It was like some big time, at least big time ticket seller. I guess he's not unless he's having a show in some Bristol pub.
I don't know, Shevin. I'll let Riku answer that. I mean, I literally have heard people on the internet tell me legitimately Dillian White is a pay-per-view star in the UK and suggesting that he's a bigger draw in the UK as Tyson Fury. I don't know what's going on. I don't give a shit. Riku, if you got any final words on that, answer them and then we'll move on next one.
I think UK ticket sales are quite regional, aren't they? So AJ in London and AJ wherever draws, as does Tyson Fury. Then you look at Liverpool, you'll build a card around Callum Smith and others. The actual guy that, and Sheffield, you have Kid Galahad, Kelbrook, all these people. If you build enough people from Sheffield, they'll sell tickets. The biggest ticket seller, I'd say, after sort of AJ and Fury is actually Chris Eubank Jr.
Oh, you've said that before, yeah.
Every time I've been to his shows, it's sold out to the max.
You know, one thing I will say, a point that I don't understand, I've seen this point regurgitated on boxing Twitter and boxing media as well since this story has broke. Everyone keeps saying, why would you put yourself in the shoes of Dillian White or Eddie Hearn, and you have this Fury fight on the cusp? Why would you risk it and fight anyone when you're scheduled to fight Tyson Fury? The thing with that narrative is he's not scheduled to fight Tyson Fury, and Eddie Hearn and Dillian White are behaving as if they don't need the collaboration of Tyson Fury, ESPN, and the WBC to make that fight. Three parties who have no value in making that fight, like I said earlier, because there's no money in fighting Dillian White.
I'll tell you now, I agree with you, Shevin. And this goes into my next question that I want to ask. I'll ask Riku and then I'll ask you. But I think I've asked Riku this last week. I'm going to ask him again. I'll back up what Shevin says, right? There's no value to ESPN. They've got one more fight left with Tyson Fury, right? I would think if they want to do this last fight with Tyson Fury, ideally they want it in America against somebody who's sort of partially recognizable to the American market. You know, do you know an ideal fight for Fury would be, in my opinion, for ESPN for their last fight? Fury versus Andy Ruiz. That would be a great fight for them to do because Andy Ruiz has got a whole country behind him in Mexico. He's a little bit, I don't say he's known in America, but I would imagine he's probably more well known than Dillian White, I guess, but I could be wrong about that. But certainly times 10, right? 10. Then you got the Mexican support. You've got a fight that you can do over in the States as well. So I think that would be, to be honest, an ideal kind of opponent that ESPN would want. Someone like an Andy Ruiz, like Dillian White for them doesn't do anything. But this is the question I was going to ask Riku, and I'll ask if you change your mind. Do you think that Tyson Fury, right, will take this fight? Because it's very, very, very simple, right? Matchroom, this is what Matchroom want to do. This is what I'm talking about with Dillian White being the bodyguard, aka the pawn. This is their whole point, right? Get Dillian White some form of the W, but they don't care, yeah, if Tyson Fury gets elevated to franchise. Just get Dillian White in. Get Dillian White some version of the WBC title, and I guarantee you, as soon as Dillian White wins the title, the first thing they're going to do is feed him to Anthony Joshua in an undisputed fight. That is the first thing they will do. I guarantee you. Feed him to Anthony Joshua. I reckon they're going to cook the books against Usyk. I reckon the judging in that Usyk rematch is going to be something that you've never seen before. I'm expecting some real dodgy judging, yeah, in that rematch of Usyk. They're going to try everything they can, in my opinion, to get Anthony Joshua over the line in that fight, yeah. Next in the evil plan will be get Dillian White some form of WBC title, whether it's the normal, the regular, whatever it is. And then as soon as he gets that, they're going to serve him up on a platter. They're going to serve him up, yeah, like, I don't know what they call it, fried dumpling and roti or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? They're going to serve him up, you know. They're going to serve him straight up to Anthony Joshua, and they're going to say, this is a unification fight, yeah? And then once AJ wins that fight, which he will in a couple of rounds, they're going to turn around and then they're going to say, see, told you, AJ's a unified champion of the world. We've got all the belts. We've got this and that. AJ's the man. If you want to come and do business in the heavyweight division, you want to see us. Riku, what do you think about that?
I think you might be right. Maybe the tactic is to not have this fight, force Fury to accept the fight, and if not, they'll just make him the champion emeritus, and then White gets a sort of a more legit version of the WBC. And then what that might mean is that if AJ can beat Usyk, they can legitimately call this fight, fight for all the belts.
100%.
And then they might say, okay, well, White needs, if they can get that sorted, White needs a fight back to test his shoulder. And they might do that in January, February, depending on how the AJ fight timing goes. And he fights against somebody 4 or 5 rounds, and then they can hopefully make a unification fight for all the marbles and pretend that Fury isn't the champion.
That's what I think the plan's been from day dot. Like, that's my opinion on that. Shevin, you got any opinion on that before we move on to the next question?
Yes, I do believe in that plan. I'm going to tell you about how that plan is also a little bit flawed. I'm assuming that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom was thinking, well, listen, that's how they were able to get Devin Haney the WBC belt, right? Teofimo Lopez got franchised. They sent Devin Haney the belt, right? The difference is there was value in Devin Haney, an up-and-coming prospect, Black American fighter. There was value in Devin Haney having that belt, right? That's something that could sell him versus Ryan Garcia or him versus Tank Davis down the road. There's value in him being the WBC champion. This situation is uniquely different because there is zero value for the WBC, which is based out of Mexico. Zero value in Dillian White having that belt. There's much more value in Deontay Wilder even having that belt or fighting for that belt, or Andy Ruiz having that belt or fighting for that belt. So best case scenario, which I think Matchroom doesn't know, is if Fury vacates or if Fury goes to franchise, if the fight we made between Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz and Dillian White, or Deontay Wilder and Dillian White, they're going to have to go through one of those two guys to get that belt, because one of those two guys having the WBC belt is of money value to the WBC. So it's not going to go like Matchroom thinks it's going to go.
Right, Riku's going to have to dash in 5, so I'm giving Riku the floor for 5 minutes. Riku, your final thoughts on the situation. The final question I was going to ask you, but you can talk about whatever you want, is do you think Fury's going to take this fight? I don't think he will, but like I said before, Riku, I'm going to give you an uninterrupted 5 minutes. Talk about whatever you want regarding this situation. Do you think Fury will take it? What you think is going to happen next, etc., etc.? Go for it.
I'll start off by my plea for the fans. Make sure you're consistent and you demand for the same things that you demand from British fighters, for foreign fighters. So all the fans on Twitter and everybody should be demanding that Otto Wallin actually gets this fight. And I think that's the fair thing to do, because if we want boxing to be a fair sport and actually elevate as a sport and have a shred of credibility, then we need to be consistent with what we request. And we should be putting pressure on, the boxing media to ask Eddie Hearn is it fair that Wallin doesn't get this fight? Because it was agreed Wallin would have lost a lot of money, and none of this, the winner of Fury against Whyte, if that fight happens, fights against Wallin, because that's not exactly in Eddie's control. But I think what we should have is actually fairness. The other thing, I don't think Tyson Fury is going to take this fight, because why should he? I mean, he's the man in the division. Whyte has talked so much crap over the years about him and some personal insults. Why should he give Whyte the payday? I don't think he should. And to Shevin's excellent point, it makes no sense from a US market perspective, and Fury's a star in the US. Therefore, he should be fighting guys that are known in the US, whether that be Luis Ortiz, Frank Sanchez, Andy Ruiz, whoever, rather than fight against Whyte, who hasn't proven that he's somebody that should be fighting these top fights, because Whyte has refused every opportunity to fight against legit contenders such as Pulev, who he had a chance to fight for the IBF, Joshua, who he turned down in the fight against Ruiz. The fight against Big Baby Miller, which he was asked first if he wanted to take that fight against Joshua, and he refused to fight for 3 belts, and other occasions when he's refused fights. So I think what we should be asking for is fairness, and that's what boxing media in this country should be doing, being fair and asking those questions. And I mean, if they dare to put this on DAZN pay-per-view and they postpone it, then we all know it's been a con all along. And
hold on,
Riku, always wanted more money.
Let me just say one thing quickly before you go.
Mm-hmm.
DAZN sent a recent survey out, which is very interesting. Don't you find that interesting that the week before Whyte pulls out of his fight, they send surveys around to people saying, would you be willing to pay $29.99 for Dillian White versus Andy Ruiz?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I could be completely wrong about this, because I'm not really the man for rankings or anything like that. I don't have a clue. But somebody on Twitter speculated that if Tyson Fury was to vacate the WBC today and say, I'll give it up, they're speculating that in that case, the WBC would look at possibly ordering Andy Ruiz versus Dillian White for the vacant belt. Now, I know you think Joe Joyce has to be the next guy in line, but I don't know if he has to be. But there's somebody online who said that if Fury vacates, they have a strong feeling that the WBC in that case would say, right, White versus Ruiz for the vacant belt. So that just rang a bell with me. I mean, I could be talking about my arsehole there.
No, that's
Wild
true.
is actually ranked number 1 now, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wilder's number 1, Ruiz is number 2, Joyce is number 3. So rankings have been updated very conveniently. So I think that was the ploy all along. Maybe they know that Wilder wouldn't fight for, Wilder couldn't fight for the belt again, I think, because he's coming off a loss, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you'd have to have Ruiz. It seems like Joe Joyce has been shafted here. He's the guy that was meant to be up in the rankings, at least the last month. So I think that may be what they're doing. Let's see if Wallin is even in the rankings. So Wallin doesn't even seem to be in the rankings currently.
I do believe, I know that there's precedent for a fighter being mandated to fight for a vacant belt or for a belt off a loss. I've got a guy who fought Canelo a few fights ago. There was someone else that fought for was mandated by the WBC coming off a loss. Was it Yildirim? I think he fought Canelo coming off. Yeah, he was mandated. So they have done that before. And there's just so much more money in Wilder versus Ruiz than there is versus White versus either of the two. That's something I could see the WBC doing in their favor. And people say that's not fair to the White. And they're right. It's not fair. But it's not fair to any fighter. Therefore, that makes it fair in my perspective.
Yeah, I think they just need to be consistent. But we are talking about the governing body that had a dead fight in the rankings for months. So, what can we do here?
Dead fighter. Don't let Eddie Hearn know about that dead fighter, or try and get him as one of Alan Babbage's next fights. Man.
That was what was it? Michael. Who was the guy that Whyte was first meant to fight in the US when he fought in the US? Michael. What's it called? Somebody that Lennox Lewis had fought against again.
Michael Grant. It was Michael Grant.
Yeah, it was Michael Grant. So I mean, we're not talking about dead, but we're talking about sort of retirement home fighters. So
listen, that's exactly what Matchroom like. You know what I mean? And like I said before, Dillian White, guys in the chat, right? Give me an answer for this. If Dillian White doesn't take this fight, I've never called a fighter a ducker in my life, so I can't call Dillian White a ducker. But Dillian's been calling other fighters cowards and things. So if Dillian White, and I'll ask you, Riku, that as well, but if Dillian White doesn't take this fight of Otto Wallin, should that officially be perceived as a duck?
I mean, by Dillian White's standard of calling people
by his own standards, right?
That should be definitely called as a duck. I wonder what he's going to say when he's asked about it. He can't really say that it's no fight that he should be taking or it's not worthy fight, given that he's been promoting the fight and accepted the fight in the first place. So, I mean, somebody said, "Oh, maybe he's injured." Maybe Santa Claus is alive, but who knows? But
listen, Lucky D, let me tell you, I think it's possible he's injured. Lucky D, like I said, I haven't accused him of anything. All I would say is, like I said, hopefully we can get some answers and some scans. And Lucky D, if he is injured, there's no reason why he can't give Wallin the fight. Then, isn't there? You can let that shoulder clear up. He's the can man. He can come back and clear up business. So if he's injured, great. Let's say Eddie Hearn is on record, as you can see here. Just one more time for those of you and you. Eddie Hearn's on record here as asking for scans for proof of injury for Daniel Dubois. So Eddie Hearn's on record as asking for proof. So let's get the proof up for Dillian White. Let's see the scans of his shoulder. And then hopefully I wish him all the best. His shoulder clears up. As Dave says, he does have a history of shoulder injuries. That is very true about Dillian. Dillian's shoulder's been fucked before.
Well, he had the operation after the AJ fight, but if he had that, if it's bad, surely he's going to be out for a number of months and they're going to have to postpone any Tyson Fury fight, right?
All right, brother.
All right. I'm going off now, but everybody make sure you like and subscribe and, big up Shevin. And
he's left me as well, so it's just me now, but yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Well, we'll talk next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. We'll talk properly next week. We kind of threw this together at the last minute anyway, so that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. We'll talk next week, and we'll wait for Dillian's statement to come out, and then we'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
All
All
right, Rico. Catch you in a bit.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, so it looks like it's just me, yeah, the last man standing. I don't know where Shevin is. Yeah, there you go. It's always difficult when you're managing, yeah, 3 different people on a conversation. It's so difficult. It's a lot harder when it looks, when you got to make sure everyone doesn't talk over each other and blah, blah, blah. So we tried it today. I think it's a bit better when we have one-on-ones, actually, but that's something that we'll work towards in the future. But listen, I ain't done yet. There's still 200 in the room. Let me just start off by saying this. Can we first off hit the like button, because there's like 220 in the room and there's 57 likes, which is disgusting. So let me crack on now and give my opinions, yeah? And then I want to talk about Anthony Joshua before we go. Joe Wall saying, what do you think of the Anthony Joshua training situation? I do want to get into that. I want to get into that just a second. So to clarify, I'll give you my points, all right? And then we'll move on, right? These are my points, right? 1, Dillian White could very well be injured. I'm not saying that he's faking it. I'm not calling him a ducker. What I'm saying is, hopefully, by his own promoter standards, we can see some kind of medical proof or evidence. Another good way is, if he is injured, right, genuinely, then in my opinion, he should apologize to Otto Wallin, obviously, for putting out late and for the inconvenience. And then there should be a rescheduled fight of Otto Wallin. If I don't see any sort of proof of injury, if I don't see a rescheduled fight of Otto Wallin, and I see some other things happen, then I would be inclined to slightly question, yeah, the story of events. I would say, look, yeah, I think I've been very, very fair to Dillian White on this channel, but I would again say this guy must be the most unlucky fighter in boxing, because the amount of just circumstances that come out of the blue and keep seeming to attach themselves to him is quite simply unbelievable. We explained to you again with the Ortiz fight. Well, here you go. Ordered as the mandatory for Ortiz, ordered as the mandatory for Anthony Joshua against Kubrat Pulev, turned down a fight against Anthony Joshua. There's all kinds of situations. The Oscar Rivas situation. There's just so many of these situations that all seem to be happening to one man, Dillian White. And I just have to say, maybe he is unlucky. I could tell you a thing about being unlucky, because I'm a very unlucky person, but I don't know. It's a bit bizarre in it that these things always seem to happen to one man. And again, I have to be honest, the week that Oscar Wallin might be due to fly out. Or actually, some people are saying it's the day Oscar Wallin was due to fly out to the UK. All of a sudden, the fight's off. Let's wait and see what happens. I think I know the outcome. I think I know the outcome. I don't know where Shevin went. You're welcome to come back, Shev, if you want. I don't know where you went, but listen, I think I know what the outcome's going to be. And like I said before, for me, like I said, Dillian White has been used as a pawn his whole career. My guess is, right, that if he's not injured, and that's a big if, all right, if he's not injured, if he is not injured, and that's a big if, I believe he's been told to pull out of that fight. That's my guess, all right? If he's not injured, I believe that somebody's gone in his ear and told him, listen, don't take this fight. It's a bit too dangerous. You know, the situation with the WBC's changed. I think, yeah, that, you know, with the way the WBC, I don't know what they did, if it was a ruling or whatever they did, but they basically said, look, Fury must fight the interim champion. White is the interim champion at the minute. So as long as White stays the interim champion, Fury must fight him. And I think somebody very, very clever has seen the recent WBC rulings and just said, look, we're in a very, very strong legal position. The WBC don't have a leg to stand on. As long as Whyte is going to be the interim champion, White's going to get the shot. There's no reason for us to risk this any further. Let's can this fight. Maybe the tickets aren't doing as well as we expected, and let's move on to something else. And I'm saying that's an if he's not injured, all right? I'm going to make that clear. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm saying that's an if he was injured. Now, I'm going to move on to Anthony Joshua. But if anybody's got any more questions on Dillian White and Otto Wallin, put them in the chat. I will answer them. Shevin's going to be back in a second, actually, so he's not gone for good. But if you've got any comments on that, I will happily answer them. In the meantime, let's just quickly do a quick change of pace. What do you guys think about this man here, yeah? Anthony Joshua, out in the States, looking for a new trainer. Here he is training with Ronnie Shields and the Charlo twins, man. There's a lot's going to be made of this now. Let me tell you who Anthony Joshua's new trainer won't be. In my opinion, his new trainer won't be Ronnie Shields, because Ronnie Shields has literally run to the media and basically aired out AJ's whole entire business to the media. That's what Ronnie Shields has done. So I'm pretty sure that he won't be getting hired as Anthony Joshua's trainer. because Anthony Joshua likes people who, you know, keep it moving and keep it quiet. He likes to keep, you know, he likes to keep things tight. He likes to run a tight ship. And let me tell you something. Ronnie Shields is 100%. And Ronnie Shields basically told the press, yeah, he basically told the press that Anthony Joshua is going to sack everybody in his training team other than Angel Fernandez. That's basically what Ronnie Shields said, that everybody's up for the chop. Everybody's up for the chop in Anthony Joshua's camp other than Angel Fernandez. He's the only one who's going to be staying. Everybody else is going to get the chop. He's already said that he's looking at Ronnie Shields, Reynoso, Virgil Hunter, or somebody else. So he's already narrowed it down to 4 coaches. But that's what Ronnie Shields is saying. Like I said before, people are putting a little bit too much credence into the whole trainer situation. Do you know what I mean? Like I said before, there's only so much you can lead a horse to water. Let me say one thing about Rob McCracken. I don't think Rob McCracken can stay Anthony Joshua's trainer, but I don't think it's because he was chatting brilliant AJ in the corner. I do think people are reading a little bit too much into that than what they need to read. Oh, Rob McCracken needs to be sacked because AJ was getting beaten up in a fight and Rob McCracken was saying brilliant AJ. I don't think so. We don't know the context of that. Maybe Rob McCracken was trying to G him up. Listen, I've seen that before in sparring. Maybe Rob McCracken was trying to G him up. Maybe he was trying to motivate him. I don't think that's the reason why Rob McCracken should get the sack. I believe the reason why Rob McCracken cannot stay on as trainer of Anthony Joshua is because, he had a 240 pound, 6'4", 6'5" piece of solid muscle getting bossed around the ring by a effing cruiserweight. That's the real reason. For me, it's because of the way Anthony Joshua fought. That's the reason why. Not being the big man, backing off, getting backed out of the center of the ring, and getting beaten to the jab. And for me, that's the reason why, Rob McCracken is going to have to stand down as Anthony Joshua's trainer. I don't think it's because of what he was saying in the corner or what he was saying during the fight. I think that's irrelevant. I think the bottom line is Anthony Joshua needs to make sure going into the fight. Shevin, I've just resent you the link. He needs to make sure that he's fighting as the bigger man, and that he needs to step in behind the jab, close the distance, and let his hands go. And he didn't do that. James Lord says, Rob McCracken didn't tell Joshua to box like a Cuban, bro. Not Rob's fault. Anthony Joshua didn't listen to him. Let's have a look, see if there's some other stuff here. Scott Thompson says Barry Hearn should train Anthony Joshua. Well, Barry Hearn trained Eddie, didn't he? Didn't Barry Hearn help train Eddie as well, innit? Because remember Barry used to take Eddie to all them amateur fights. Them 6 amateur fights which nobody has seen, heard of, or been involved in, or trained, or has any video footage of. So maybe Barry Hearn is a viable candidate. Let's have a look. Execute.exie says the corner lost Joshua the Usyk fight. Tactics all wrong. Allow the smaller man to be bullied. The bigger man needs to be a bully. I agree with that. For me, Rob needs to go because of the way AJ fought in that fight. And I'm not even saying Rob's a bad coach, but I'm just saying, that's the reason why. Not because of what he said in the corner. You know me, I made a very, very unpopular suggestion for coach, which everybody's laughed at, so I'll repeat it here. I threw Dominic Ingle's name into the hat because I think Dominic Ingle knows how to deal with southpaw fighters. I really do think Dominic Ingle knows how to deal with southpaws. I think, like I said, southpaw fighters are very, very common in the Ingle gym, and I believe that Dominic Ingle knows how to deal with southpaws. But like I said before, that's not going to happen. Who are the other trainers? Virgil Hunter. What do you guys think about Virgil Hunter? I don't know. I don't know how this man keeps getting mentioned with top coaches. I just don't understand why Virgil Hunter gets. What is this obsession with Virgil Hunter? Does anybody know? What is this obsession with Virgil Hunter? I don't understand it. Like, he trained Andre Ward. I understand that he trained Andre Ward. Andre Ward is just a one-of-a-kind fighter. He's a unique fighter. But Reynoso, what's the obsession with Eddie Reynoso? I can think of one advantage of Anthony Joshua training with Eddie Reynoso, but it's got nothing to do with boxing. I can think of one advantage of Anthony Joshua training with Reynoso, but it ain't got very much to do with fucking what goes on in the ring. Let me tell you that. But I mean, all these names, Eddie Reynoso. What has Eddie Reynoso ever proven in the sport of boxing outside of Canelo Alvarez? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, like, Andre Ward. Do you think Andre Ward would not have been a world champion if Virgil Hunter hadn't trained him? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just my opinion. I think Andre Ward would have been a champion regardless. Do you know what I mean? That's just me. I just think he has the physical and the mental attributes required, yeah, as well as the athletic attributes required to be a world champion, right? Same with Canelo. Do you think if Canelo Alvarez was trained by somebody else instead of Eddie Reynoso, do you think he would not have been world champion? I don't know. I mean, look, maybe Reynoso deserves some credit, but the whole thing about trainer of the fucking year, give me a break. Let's have a look. Lennox Lewis is a mentor. We've had that before. As a mentor for AJ, how's that going to work? To be a mentor, you have to have respect. Anthony Joshua doesn't have enough respect for Lennox Lewis. He's gone in the media and he's called him a clown. Called him a clown, isn't he? So what do you expect? He's called him a clown, right? So that's it, isn't it? It is what it is. Brandon says Teddy Atlas would bring out the dog of AJ. One thing about Teddy Atlas is he does not take any fucking nonsense. That's one thing about Teddy Atlas. Like, if there's a problem, can you imagine Ben Davison doing what he did to Mark Tibbs before the Canelo fight to Teddy Atlas? Can you imagine someone like Ben Davison telling Teddy Atlas, by the way, Teddy, I'm going to be in the corner tomorrow night. Billy Joe wants me to be in the corner. Can you imagine Ben Davison saying that to someone like Teddy Atlas? Teddy Atlas would fucking tell him where to go. Teddy Atlas would tell him, pack your fucking bags, box size, Ben, get the fuck out of here. Tell him straight. He would never allow that in a million years. Teddy Atlas takes no fucking nonsense. Samuel Harrison is so what's Tunde Ajayi? Let me say one thing quickly about Tunde Ajayi as well. Yeah, this whole thing. I noticed everybody's piling in on Tunde. You know, I don't. He does kind of bring it on himself. Tunde does bring it on himself a little bit. I understand. Yeah, some people don't find him to be very likable. I've had a very brief chat with him on Twitter DMs once, a long while ago, just before Anthony Yarde fought Sergei Kovalev. I had a very, very brief back and forth with Tunde on social media. Tunde, to me, come across as a decent dude. I've never had a problem with Tunde. I do think, like I said before, we've got to be careful at sort of like piling in on people. Do you know what I mean? Piling in on Tunde. Games you love saying he's this close to going back to the roads. See, the thing is, yeah, let me quickly say something for Tunde. Tunde, I know Tunde said that comment, yeah, I'm this close to going back to the road, innit? Tunde spitting bars out of one of them old school Channel U videos. Back to the road. We'll take it to the end of the road. Tunde wants to take it to the end of the road. If you want to bang, to the end of the road. It is what it is, but you got to remember, Pat Barrett turned around and said he's going to punch him in his head. And everybody's giving Pat Barrett a pass for that. Why is Pat Barrett saying them kind of things? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, there's no need to take it up to that level. What's Tunde supposed to say? Yes, please, and thank you. Please, sir, can I have some more? Pat Barrett on the stage saying, look, if I want to entertain, I'll punch you up in your head. Or what the fuck, man? So, like I said before, I know people don't like Tunde, but you got to be a little bit sort of, you know, reasonable with the guy. You know, a rival trainer threatened him, innit, during a press conference, innit? Like a rival trainer threatened him during a press conference, and he responded accordingly, innit? What's he supposed to say, innit? Look, I don't see the big deal in it, but everybody's sort of piling in on Tunde. James Lord says, why is Pat Barrett wearing a puffer jacket and glasses indoors, though? Because Pat Barrett is really about that business. That's why, man. Pat Barrett is really about that business, man. That's all I can say, man. Pat Barrett is really, really about that business. He really is, man. For real, for real. He ain't, you know, like I said before, Pat Barrett's there for the smoke. You guys are loving this Pat Barrett versus Tunde. Listen, I've got to be careful what I say here, but I've said to certain people, what needs to happen is they need to do a separate head-to-head for Pat Barrett and Tunde. That's what I said. I said to certain people, you need to do a separate head-to-head. Even if it's just webcams, even if it's just StreamYard, yeah? You have Pat Barrett on one side and Tunde Ajayi on the other. That will draw so much views. Can you imagine that? Pat Barrett and Tunde on a web call, head-to-head, just before the fight. Everybody would in the UK who loves that kind of thing would tune up to would tune in to listen to that, and we'll see. But I don't think that's going to happen. I can't really say much more than that, but I don't think that's going to happen. But it is what it is. Let's have a look here. Face to face. I don't think you could do face to face. Pat Barrett's a little bit too much. I think Pat Barrett's a little bit too much at the minute for a face to face. I feel safer with a webcam between the two of them. A webcam, because They've already done the Arthur versus Yard face-to-face. That was done by Carl Frampton, so that'll be coming out in a few weeks. But they should have done one with the trainers too. But like I said before, from what I heard, yeah, Pat Barrett is legit. Like, he's angry. Like, that's what I heard. Like, I heard that Pat Barrett is fuming. That's all I heard. Like, Pat Barrett is absolutely fuming. This is not about selling anything. This is not about selling anything. This is not about ticket sales. For those people who were saying, "Oh, it's about ticket sales," they're just trying to drum up. I'm telling you, from what I've been told, it's nothing to do with ticket sales. Pat Barrett is walking around and he's fuming. That's all I can tell you, man. Pat Barrett is walking around and he is absolutely fuming, and that's the reason why I don't think we're going to see Pat and Tunde in the room together anytime soon, because Pat is a live wire. That's what I've heard at the minute. Now, let me say this before we go. Fury versus Whyte. Give me your comments. If you were Tyson Fury, would you fight Dillian White? Simple as that. That's the question that I wanted to get across. So I'm going to ask it now. If you were Tyson Fury, and let me ask you something. And this is the question that I forgot to ask Shevin and I forgot to ask Riku. And I'm going to ask it again. Yeah. Here's my question to you guys in the chat. What is it about Dillian White that is making all these fighters want to avoid him? So for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I've been hearing about, let's go through this. There's a global conspiracy between Al Heyman, the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, who's obviously head of the WBC, Frank Warren, Bob Arum. Everybody's involved in a global conspiracy against Dillian White. They don't want Dillian White to become the champion because he's so dead. What Dillian White fans, right? Because somebody in the chat explained to me, what is it that's so dangerous about Dillian White that when Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and everybody else watches fights, they think, oh my God, I can't fight this guy. Nobody is in 5 years of doing this stuff, nobody has ever been able to actually explain to me, what is it about Dillian White that all these top fighters look at and they think like, oh my God, this guy's so dangerous. I'm gonna engage in a full-time global conspiracy just to stop him from having to fight me because he's that day. Like, what is it about Dillian? Genuinely, like, can somebody explain to me, like, what is it about this man that's so dangerous? What is it? I don't get it. I don't see, like, what is it like? Scott Thompson says low risk, low reward. What, Dillian? Do you mean high risk, low reward? Is that what you mean? Low risk, low reward. I would agree with you. Oh, is that what you mean? Low risk, low reward. Okay. What is it like about Dillian? Can somebody tell me? Dave Lane says Dillian can howl like a wolf. I just want somebody to tell me, what is it about Dillian White that is so scary? When these guys watch his fights, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't fight this guy. I can't. Like, what is it? What is it the WBC is seeing in Dillian White where the WBC is still like, fuck, we need to engage in a worldwide conspiracy to stop this man fighting one of our champions because he's that dangerous? What is it? Or could it be that all of this stuff is fucking bullshit and that maybe, just maybe, nobody's running from Dillian White? Is that possible? What do you guys think? Do you think it's possible that actually no one's hiding from Dillian White and this is bollocks? No one's ducking Dillian White and actually it's bollocks. What do you guys think? It's a bit like that. It's a bit like what happened with Oscar Rivas, isn't it? It's like, what do you believe? Do you believe that what happened before the Oscar Rivas fight was some very, very unlucky, strange turn of events? Do you think it was a case of, oh, poor Dillian, they're out to get him again? Because at the time, people were saying that that his test results were deliberately tampered with. People actually spread conspiracies that the WBC tampered with his urine samples in order to try and get him out of being a mandatory for Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury or whoever, right? So what I'm saying is, how far are you willing to go with these conspiracies? And Yo King's laughing. I'm telling you, there are people. If you go to the original videos where it was announced there was a problem with one of his samples, the first thing that was said on certain channel videos is the WBC have done this or the PBC have done this. They've tampered with his test to stop him from being the mandatory. That's what they were saying. So my question is, how far are we willing to go with these conspiracies? With these Dillian White conspiracies? How far are we willing to go with these conspiracies? Are we going to go down about, because it's like we're approaching fucking, with these Dillian White conspiracies, right? It's only a matter of time before, we started off at B samples, we started off at, Ortiz, Pulev and AJ and all this. And it feels like with all these Dillian White conspiracies, it feels like, we're about half a bollock away from talking about shape-shifting reptiles, flat earth, and all kinds of other shit. It is, isn't it, though? With all these Dillian White conspiracies that are being peddled about, it's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre. Shape-shifting reptilians. That's going to be next, isn't it? I mean, it's only a matter of time, isn't it? The Illuminati are against Dillian White. Is that what it is? Is it the Illuminati? Have the Illuminati got it in for Dillian White? They don't want Dillian to be the champion. You ever seen that film, Eyes Wide Shut? You ever seen that film where they're, having those big, massive sex parties wearing all these dodgy masks and shit and offering people at these parties? What's all that about? Is the main plot of Eyes Wide Shut? It's all a conspiracy to make sure that Dillian White doesn't become mandatory for the WBC title. I can't work it out. What's going on? What do you think, Chev?
Speaking of Eyes Wide Shut, offering up. Oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro.
Yeah. Speaking of Eyes Wide Shut, or people offering up human slaves. I didn't know that. What's our boy David Hayes' homeboy? He just fought. What's his name?
Joe Fournier.
Yeah, Jay Fournier. I think that movie was based on him, offering up human slaves to Callum Smith.
I get it. They won't get that. I get that, yeah. I mean,
listen,
what do you think about all these Dillian White conspiracies? How far down a rabbit hole are we going? I feel like Morpheus. How far down a rabbit hole are we going to go with this shit? It's ridiculous.
Listen, think about this now from Matchroom's perspective, right? From Matchroom's perspective, I was thinking about this a second ago. Tell me what you think about this. So, say for instance, this very well could likely happen. In Matchroom, they are accountants. Say for instance, Dillian White took that Wallin fight, right? And he lost. And then Anthony Joshua has the Usyk fight, and he loses. All two things highly likely happen, right? Those things that happen. And the third trifecta of, I guess, just a doomsday for Matchroom, for Matchroom as well, they don't get, there's a Premier League or Champions League or BT. If they don't get that league or one of those leagues, they don't get BT, AJ and White loses. I mean, will that be doomsday for Matchroom?
They need White badly because well, first and foremost, it centers around Anthony Joshua, right?
Yep.
It centers around Anthony Joshua. But realistically, they need White because if White can somehow get some version of the WBC title and they can get AJ over the line on the cards against Usyk, then they're going to feed him. That's all it's about, Shevin, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's all about making sure, though, that when they feed Dillian White to Anthony Joshua, making sure he has a belt so that AJ can get all 4 belts. That's what all this is about. So step one would be this. I'm telling you, if AJ gets to the cards against Usyk, they're going to be some funny cards. They're going to be some very, very funny. Especially as this, right? The first fight between Usyk and AJ was very, very one-sided. I don't think if it goes to the cards again, it's going to be as one-sided. I think AJ is going to have his moments. I think if AJ has any moments in the Usyk fight, they're going to give those rounds to Anthony Joshua because I think the fight's going to look a lot closer than it did the first time, right? So I'm going to go with Anthony Joshua to beat Alexander Usyk on points. And then Dillian White becomes really important because ideally, if Fury can vacate and give up that bloody belt, then they can shove him into a fight Sorry, I don't know if I've answered the question.
No, you have, and that's the same point I was trying to make to Rico. But think about this, right? That plan, if I worked for Matchroom, if I was Eddie Hearn, that plan from a financial standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, right? There's just one fatal flaw in that plan. Say, for instance, you work for me, and I'm the WBC, okay? And I hire you to work for me as a WBC representative. Your only job working for the WBC is to make the biggest, best, most financial fights so we can collect the biggest sanctioning fees, right? That's your job, okay? You have 4 options, though. So 4 options in this job. Option number 1, make Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz for that vacant belt. Option number 2, make Deontay Wilder versus Dillian White for that belt. Option number 3, make Andy Ruiz versus Dillian White for that belt. Or option number 4, that's your 5 options. Option number 4, make Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz and then tell Dillian White he is the regular, he is to fight the winner of that fight for the belt. That would be savage. Or option number that can happen. Or option number 5, just give the belt to Dillian White so you can collect sanction fees from Dillian White versus Philip Hergovic or Joe Joyce. You're going to choose option 1, 2, 3, or 4, or you're going to be fired.
Let me tell you, I think Matchroom's plan is about getting Tyson Fury in the ring with they ideally they want to get. They've basically pulled out of the States, right? I think we can all say right now. I haven't watched Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. By the way, let me apologize to Eddie Hearn and Sandor Martin now on the record. I apologize to both of these guys because I said that Sandor Martin was a joke fight for Mikey Garcia and he ended up beating him. So my apologies to Sandor Martin and Eddie Hearn. But I think now than ever, they just paid Mikey Garcia £1.5 million, right? They paid Sandor Martin a tenth of what they paid Mikey Garcia. They paid Mikey Garcia £1.5 million to walk in and get his ass beat, by a European champion. So they're in dire straits in the States anyway, I think ideally as well, what they'd like to do in order to try and get some the zone subs in, if they can get it, if they can get Fury versus White on the zone or something like that, or something like that can happen on the zone, then fine. That's what they want to do. So I think that would be one of their options as well, if that's possible.
Yeah, 100%. And as long as Fury is on ESPN, he will never fight on the zone. And I've now given I'm as wrong about fights as much as we're both wrong about these fights all the time, right? But when it comes to these networks and them networks doing deals with one another, my track record stands. When people talked about Tyson Fury versus Ajit Caballel in the UK, I said that fight would never happen. It never happened. They talked about Fury versus AJ. I said that fight would never happen. Forget the Deontay Wilder stuff. ESPN would never allow it to happen, and it never happened. That was a week before the arbitration stuff happened, where Joe Markowski got on an interview and said they had not even spoken to ESPN yet. So that fight was never going to happen. There's no U.S. television network that has or ever will do business with DAZN USA. They will never do that. Just like the BBC or Sky or BT would never do a joint broadcast with Fight TV app because it makes no sense. They're so much bigger than they are. So they're trying to get Fury on DAZN. I think that's smart for them, but that would never, ever happen. And until it happens, I'm still right about that.
I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have to wait and see, Sharon. I think we're going to leave it there. I think, do you know what I mean? I think we're just going to leave it at that. I haven't had any sleep in a couple of days. So
quick question for you. I missed the point. You mentioned my point. I want to make a point about the AJ and his trainer stuff. I don't care whichever trainer AJ gets, whether stay with Rob or Ronnie Shields or Sanchez or Mexican Beef Man himself, Reynoso. Like, I don't care who he gets with, right? Whichever trainer he gets, I'll tell you this much. It needs to be, and it has to be, one trainer in the corner. Not 15 niggas in the corner yelling, "Beautiful AJ, beautiful." He's up there getting his ass kicked. So
what about 258? What about 258 management? Because there's 258 of them.
Oh yeah, them too.
It's like being in a barber shop. You walk in, all of a sudden, there's all these brothers walking around with 258 on black t-shirts. What the fuck is going on in that corner? What is going on? Carry on.
Listen to me. I will say this about Ronnie Shields, okay? I'm not going to feel like I know anything more about boxing.
He's a snitch, by the way. Hey, he's a snitch.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, no, they just straight up on the thing, Ronnie Shields. He didn't even give AJ time to freaking take his hand wraps off. He's already fucking talking to the media, saying AJ wants everybody out of his camp, other than Angel Fernandez. Let me tell you, don't never commit no murder around Ronnie Shields. Ronnie Shields would run into the freaking cops 2 seconds. Yeah, I know who did it. This and that. But OJ Simpson, lucky he didn't kill Nicole Bryan in Ronnie Shields' gym. Ronnie Shields would have been all up on the police. Yeah, OJ told me this. Yeah, OJ. Yeah.
Ronnie Shields like Chris Rock in New Jack City wearing that wire. Come get me, Scotty. They're gonna kill me.
Ronnie Shields. AJ ain't gonna pick him.
Whoever AJ picked, he better pick someone that's gonna be one man, one voice in the corner. One man, one voice. I don't give a damn who it is, because if it's a bunch of your fucking homeboys from fucking Wartford or wherever the hell he's from, bruh, that doesn't behoove you to be successful. One voice, one trainer. not a team. You ain't no fucking. You're not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I need an offensive coach and a defensive coach and a punch left hand coach and a right hook coach. What the hell is that?
Yeah. What? Don't get me started. I could talk about it all day. Don't get me started. I mean, I think as much as he, getting a new coach is one thing. A lot of it's mental as well, and he needs to go in there and be prepared to be the big man and prepared to get hit on the whiskers. And there are question marks about Anthony Joshua. Is he actually prepared to go in there? Because, like I said before, you can get fucking trainers can tell you anything until the cows come home. Once you get in the ring and them lights go on and you get hit on the fucking chin, then it gets real. When he gets hit on the chin by Usyk, we know he can be hurt. He's been hurt before. If Usyk hurts him again in the second fight, what's he going to do? Is he still going to be the big man and push forward and take a shot to give a shot? Or is he going to back off like he did last time? Is he going to back off into his little corner?
Yeah, I know. I want him to win the rematch so bad for him, but then again, at the same time, that means I have to deal with his psychotic fans and psychotic promotional team, and I'm kind of torn on that regard. Listen, man, get you some sleep, man. Your ass ain't slept in 24 hours.
I'm out. Let's go. Guys, we're out. Let's go. Guys, listen, hit like, hit subscribe. I apologize. The show wasn't really up to par tonight, but I promise you, I literally am half asleep. I've got some real problems in a minute. Maybe I'm at death's door. And let me tell you, if I am at death's door, I tell you, there'll be lots of celebrations going on. I can imagine Spencer Fearon will be popping champagne bottles. If I was to fucking snuff it right now, there'd be fucking champagne bottles would be going off in the Fearon household. Champagne bottles would be going off in the Dillian White household. So I think most of the boxing YouTubers would be lighting candles. and blowing up balloons. So it is what it is, yeah. But what we're gonna do is this: we're gonna wait for Dillian White's statement. I'm gonna go and get some sleep, right? We're gonna wait for Dillian White's statement. We're gonna wait for the interviews from Eddie Hearn, and then once we do that, hopefully I'll come back with a bit more humor, with a bit more of myself back, and we'll do the show then. Peace out.